The Daily Dribble.
Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back in the recording studio with none other than Mr. Liam Hancock.
How's it going, guys?
Mate, electric, how are you?
Real good.
Good.
And Mr. Ro Hancock.
How are we going? It's another big week in bowl. Playoffs just around the corner.
The countdown is on. We are now under 10 games for all 30 teams, regular season games that is, and every game now has an incredible amount of weight behind it, doesn't it?
So
Especially
much.
in the West.
Like, has there in recent memory, do you think, across both conferences, had standings like where, as I said, where each game it could impact them so much? Like, this is incredible.
By this time of the year, usually there's a lot of dead rubbers, and it makes for very uninteresting ball. But it's quite the opposite this year. At this point of the year,
I've got to
every
say,
single game.
I've got to say, the amount of times I hear around this time of the year, has it ever been this close in each given conference? I hear it every year.
Is that a Nick impression?
I've heard it from. I've probably said it before. I've heard it from all three of us, but. Seriously,
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. In the East, it's pretty set, but in the West, so close. It's like 4 to like the 12th team.
If you've got a team in that range, like there is just a profuse sweating going on at the moment. From sunrise till sundown, it is non-stop. Like I am on tender hooks at the moment.
As a Lakers fan, of course, yeah. And I mean, even if you're sitting around it's quite insane because if you're sitting around the 5th, 6th spot, usually at this point of the year, you're thinking, okay, I'm probably pretty set.
Yeah.
We can look forward to the playoffs. But this year, no one's safe.
And we love that. We love that. So a big episode in store, guys. Before we get into it, though, a big shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover. Week in and week out, here I am rehashing the same scripted line, but I love it because it's true. Two fantastic networks doing fantastic things for not only us, but other content creators out there. We are very, very thankful for all their continued hard work and support of us.
Definitely.
It certainly means a lot to us. So a big shout out to both those networks there. Guys, we're going to rattle through some quick odds and ends. We're then going to get into our playoff wish list. So certainly looking forward to discussing them very shortly. But without further ado, odds and ends, starting with the news that Paul George is set to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks after suffering a right knee injury and the Clippers' 1-point loss to the Thunder earlier in the week. They actually made amends by beating the Clippers, beating the Thunder, should I say, earlier today. But, with this injury, the impact, it's incredibly detrimental. He's going to miss the remainder of the regular season and part of the playoffs, depending on how that reevaluation goes in that 2 to 3 week time period. He could be out for the entirety of their playoff, quest. So with that, lads, do you think without PG, is there any chance that the Clippers could be champions? Is there any chance at all, Lee?
Definitely not. I'm going to say definitely not. Your question should be, is there any chance that the Clippers make it past the first round without Paul George? Because my answer, if he's not playing at all in that first series, would probably be no.
Early round exit.
You can't just take...
Another disappointing year?
Not a vital cog, but your second most vital cog in Paul George.
I would say he's equally
probably equally.
Probably on the offensive end, he's probably 1A with Kawhi and B on that end.
Certainly.
As overall players, probably the other way around. But on that offensive side.
Let's just say you can't take your most vital cog out of your lineup and make it out the first round.
Well, for yourself, Ro, then, if PG were to return, where do you where are you seeing the Clippers at the moment?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because on paper, and we've said this particularly this year, because their roster is extremely deep, and that when you've got two superstars such as PG and Kawhi headlining it, you'd think to yourself, okay, these guys should be there right at the pointy end. But for me personally, I'm still a little bit skeptical because they've had their troubles with injuries, as we've seen. But even when they have been out there, like, it hasn't filled me with a heap of confidence in the Clippers.
No, I agree.
So to answer your question, though, without PG, come these playoffs, there's going to be no chance for the championship. I think it's a team that will rely on all their stars being out there, all their role players being available at the right time. And unfortunately for the Clippers, we've seen it with Kawhi during the regular season. We've seen it now with PG. it's not ideal at this time of the year.
It's not the time of year that you want injuries, is
No.
it? Like, it really is. I think I tend to agree with you too. I think this is probably just about curtains if PG's out. As a Lakers fan, I'm trying to say that without a smile on my face. But
you dirty dog.
I think if that would have, how the season would have go, a first round exit hypothetically, this current stretch, this current iteration with Paul George and Kawhi over the last, 4 seasons now?
Would have been 4, yeah.
How disappointing. What a disappointing little 4-year patch that's been. And poor Stevie Ballmer, if he had any hair, he would have ripped it all out.
Yes.
But yeah, I think a very impactful move there for the Clippers.
Another week's come and gone. What have our thoughts on Russ at the Clippers been?
For me personally, hasn't moved the needle too much for mine.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I don't think so personally. Like that, he hasn't impacted for mine. But
Yeah, and the fact that you can't play him down the stretch is quite worrying.
it's a huge detriment.
It's such the Russ situations. It's laughable because I love him. I love everything about him, his energy, his enthusiasm. But sometimes the way he plays the game, and especially in these the latter years of his career, leaves a lot to be desired. And I just don't think it's there with the Clippers. I think they would have been probably better served having Reggie Jackson still, or making a different move, not the Westbrook move as such.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you.
in other news, a player returning this week, Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh,
Yeah.
cat.
Sat out. We put a post on the socials, guys, last night. Check it out if you haven't already. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Around the news that Cat returned after 51 games on the sidelines with that calf injury. First return since November. He put up 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and sunk the game-winning free throws.
Huge.
As the Wolves claimed a very, very vital win there, 125 to 124 over the Hawks. Now, with Cat coming into the fold, lads, is this one a positive or negative, do you think, for the Wolves?
It's interesting, though.
Because he's probably one of, if not their best player. And it's funny asking this question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it's kind of a difficult one to answer at this point, because even like we haven't really seen this iteration too often throughout the regular season. We're almost at the playoffs, and it still sort of seems like a new type of experiment.
It does.
So it's interesting. It's gotten off to a good start, obviously good for the Timberwolves, and hopefully they can carry it along and make the playoffs, and who knows what will happen with him there. But I think I still need another week or two to figure out if this is going to actually benefit them or put them at a detriment.
And Lee, in terms of, like, as we said, all these teams now under 10 games to go in the regular season, like, continuity plays a big part in teams' playoff aspirations. You're adding a very, very big cog. It's not just a player around the fringes here.
No.
Do you think this is of benefit, or do you think they would have been better served if Cat had have been, out for the remainder of the season?
It is a tough one. I think it would have been better if he didn't get injured, to be honest.
Especially the way Naz Reid's playing.
Yeah, Naz Reid's been
He's
good.
an energy guy. The way he gets up and down the court for a big is wicked.
And those guys are so important, those Naz Reid types. They're underrated because they probably don't fill up the box score, but what they provide just in terms, as you were saying, Nick, energy and keeping the team morale up, it's invaluable.
I don't think anyone's looking at the T-Wolves, though, and saying these guys are making it even past the first round.
Yep.
At least
I'm with you.
I think they haven't had enough time together as a whole team. Bring next season on, and they might look a bit different, but not this year.
There you go. There you have it. Put a bow in the Timberwolves season, says Lee. A bow has already been put through the Houston Rockets season.
Well and truly.
Despite that, they're still making moves. They have signed free agent DJ Augustine for the remainder of the season. 35 years of age. He might be using this last 10 games as just hopefully a bit of a chance to gain a contract next year. Played 976 career games.
Vet.
He is a vet. He is a vet. He averaged 9.5 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists across his career. Last played with the Lakers across the 2021-2022 season. But could this serve as a good opportunity, granted, 10 games to go, for these young guards in Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., just to, not saying that DJ Augustine was a world beater and MVP level player, but just a little bit of, bringing that experience, that on-court, off-court leadership, just kind of showing them a few little veteran tricks will certainly probably be invaluable for two very bright young stars.
I certainly think so. And I think just the fact that he's always been a little bit of a floor general throughout the course of his career. And since they lost John Wall, who was that veteran guy for that Rockets team, and obviously that ended the way it did, they needed someone else to fill that spot for that older head just to, I don't know, because the Rockets, for mine, have been a team which they've shown a lot of immaturity and they probably haven't had the guidance that they've needed, that they've required, which happens with young teams.
Kind of like the inmates, especially since Gordon left, the inmates running the asylum a little bit, isn't it?
It is a bit. It's like the longest yard type thing. But I think it's a really good acquisition, even if it's for the, just the remainder of this season. Hopefully he earns a contract.
Yep.
But we'll see how that pans out.
Just quickly, does anyone know where is John Wall?
It's a great question.
Where actually is John Wall?
Did he not go to the Rockets?
I swear he was at the Rockets. Did he get waived again or anything at the time?
I think
no, maybe he's out the league.
Just dropped off the face of the planet. Maybe he can go join Bledsoe in China.
The Huidong Sharks, whatever.
Is he in China?
Yeah.
Bledsoe.
Yeah.
He's probably putting up 80 over there.
The Chinese. I was actually looking through some of the Chinese stats the other day. They just came up, and I was looking through the points per game, assists. There's one bloke had a 50-point, 20 assist game or something, or was it 60-point? Yeah. And some of the box scores they put up over there, especially these US players going over, is just ridiculous. Some of these games must be that fun to watch. I wish we could stream the Chinese league. I reckon it'd be electric.
Even Dwight's stats, I see them pop up, and I genuinely don't know if it's for real or not.
2K score, isn't it? If you set the level to easy, you have one player who just torches everyone.
I'm currently looking as to where John Wall is.
Please.
Coincidentally, thought of a fun name for the episode. Where's Wally? Because we have no idea where Wally is.
That's not bad, actually. It's Wally.
He's a free agent following a second buyout from Houston. So look,
out the league.
He's just not hanging around at the minute, but he'll be there. He'll be back.
It's you can't keep a good man down unless it's Isaiah Thomas. That is.
Too soon. Far too soon.
Sorry, I'll push ahead. That's a good segue. Not a good segue, but a good.
Just move on.
LeBron James, the King. Speaking of the Lakers and all good things there in LA, he's started to ramped up on-court activity, should I say. Now, there's no timeline for his return as of yet. Optimism, though, that he might be able to return for the last 3 or 4 games of the regular season. He's certainly hoping so.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Are the Lakers now, again, I don't want to crow too early or put the basis, this is on the basis that they make the play, at least.
Yep. For sure.
Do you think they could really shake things up and be a contender? If LeBron comes back with their roster the way it's currently constructed, are they a team to be feared?
If they can sneak in there, even if they can sneak in that last play-in spot, if LeBron James is back, I won't count them out. I just refuse to, particularly with these acquisitions, some of which have looked really good since acquiring them. So I won't rule them out, but it's very, very heavily reliant on LeBron returning, and I guess the Nicky's in once he does return.
Yes.
What about you, Lee?
They're the most unpredictable team in the NBA. I think
it's a roller coaster, isn't it? It really is.
And it hasn't changed. Their lineup has changed since the start of the season, but we were saying the exact same thing at the start when we were doing the standings. I don't know if they're going to be 10 or if they're going to be 4.
I think I had them first. I think I had them right up there, blind optimism.
Nick, why does this not surprise me? I love it.
I just can't help myself.
You got to ride with your team.
You do indeed.
Any team with LeBron and AD as your stars could make some noise in the playoffs. So I'll say yes.
I reckon thinking on the fly next week, just because things will have a little more clarity about playoff matchups and things of the kind, we could probably look at predicted winners in these series.
Yes, yeah.
But would you, without giving too much away, if the Lakers were to finish 7th or 8th, get in the playoffs, would you be backing them possibly against a Denver or Sacramento or Memphis? Any of these teams in that upper echelon of the West?
If we're out of those 3, I would against Sacramento and Grizzlies.
I think so as well. I think that'd be a real danger series for Sacramento. And how unfortunate would it be for them to come up against the LeBron-led Lakers in the first round of the playoffs? That'd be so unfortunate for them. But who knows?
It's kind of a shame. If you're from Australia and listen to this podcast, big shout out to all of our Aussie mates. And Like
Yes.
the AFL, if you finish in the top 4 here, you get that second chance, don't you?
It's sort of like I don't know, it's a sigh of relief because it's like if things go pear-shaped in that first week, we're still going to be around.
Yeah, and
Still
granted, they play one game, do or die.
Yeah,
like
for
they've
sure.
got 7-game series. But is that something you guys would like to see? Possibly, like a bit of a reward. Like I guess the reward at the minute is you play the teams lower in the standings. But would you like to see something like this double chance, maybe?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not quite sure because as you were saying, Nick, like
Again, this is off the fly. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it'd work. Either.
Yeah, neither. But I think the fact that it's the 7-game series, it gives like if you lose in a 7-game series, I think that's sort of like your chance. Like if you're good enough to win that series, like if you're good enough to progress, you should be winning that 7-game series. So
if one game, one team might turn up and the other doesn't, 7
yeah,
levels it out.
I think so. And
you agree with that, Lee?
I agree. I think you're saying, do they get that second chance? I think they've got 7 chances. They've got 7 chances.
Can't argue with that, mate.
Not
Well
wrong,
said.
no, they've got 7 games to play.
Beautiful. Lads, let's push ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
As we said, top of the show, playoff wish lists. Now, these are kind of, things where you think playoff teams can either change or need or do just to get them into being a bit of a title challenger. Now, I'm interested to hear what we've got here. We've each put forth 2. Right, let's transition to you first this week, matey.
He wasn't expecting that.
Oh, look, I'm never really the first person off the rank, but I'll start the trend this week.
There you go. I love it.
Something for a contending team that we think they need to do to become strong title chances was your group chat message.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I took this as a team who is probably still going to be around the mark, but at this very stage, they're probably not like the Bucks. They're not like Denver, Yeah. My first one regarding the Golden State Warriors. Now, people might say it's ridiculous for them not to be true contenders, given they've got the caliber of players that they do have, and they're coming off being reigning champions as well.
No.
I'd understand that to some extent, but I think for them to get back into the true contender status,
here we go.
Come
I'm
these
looking forward to
playoffs,
this.
I think they need far, far more consistency from some of their key players, and notably Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson. Because for me, the difference between their best this season and their worst has been, like really wide disparity throughout the course of the season. Like I was looking over Jordan Poole's box score throughout the course of the season. He's had some games where he's been single digits, but then he has the occasional, he explodes. And same thing for Klay, probably not as low as the floor, but definitely.
I agree with that. Like I think him and Jordan Poole are it almost seems identical players at the moment.
They do. Absolutely.
And as good as Curry is, like all time, one of the greatest of all time, greatest shooter of all time, there's only so much he can do.
He can only do so much. And look, the fact of the matter is, without us knowing what the status of Andrew Wiggins will be for the rest of the regular season and for these playoffs, they need these sort of second and third in charges to step up massively, particularly on the offensive end. We know what we're going to get from Steph pretty much every night. He's pretty much good for 25 to 30 most nights. And even if he doesn't, he's still among the sort of assist leaders.
And
but
the way he draws players.
He does.
Like he gains a team of 2 or 3. Like that is the power he possesses.
Definitely. And
doesn't show up in the box score, but it's a huge...
That decoy role at times.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. But there's a part of me thinking that, particularly Klay Thompson, he's been there, done that in the past. Yes. I think come these playoffs, he could switch into playoff Klay. I don't know if he's ever been referred to as Klay. Game 6
Klay.
But I think that could be a real factor as to how far they go in these playoffs. Because if Steph's doing it all, who knows? They could be a first round exit. If Steph has helpers such as Klay and such as Jordan Poole, then who knows? They're a team that I will refuse to rule out.
It's somewhat on my end expected for Jordan Poole to have a couple of off games in the playoff series with the pressure and being so young. But Klay, who's been
he's
there,
not that young, is he? What is he?
He's still like 23 or something. I feel like 24.
It's a good question. Not sure.
You are just.
But yeah, Klay being there so many times, you need to know what you're going to get out of him each night.
Fair play.
What is he?
23.
23.
23.
Spot on. Yeah.
Do you feel like he's averaged 20 points this season, 4.5 or nearly 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Does it feel like he's a 20-point per game scorer? And I know Steph has missed a lot of time, Clay's missed time. Does it feel like he's that level?
So from my perspective, it doesn't. And it sort of did surprise me when I was looking at his stats a few nights ago. And as I was saying it, he has these big nights. Like he'll have like almost 40 points, but then he'll have really quiet games and it sort of evens it out.
Yes.
I think we've said it in the past with certain players, but I'd rather he be like a 21 point a night player as opposed to some nights he's scoring 7 points and some nights he's scoring 40.
Yeah.
Like, please, like just meet us in the middle. And I think that'll serve the Warriors well.
Do you think the Warriors are still a chance? Like they are the reigning defending champs of the NBA.
We were saying the Clippers a chance without Paul George. Are the Warriors a chance without Wiggins? He is such a vital. I say this all the time, but he's such a vital cog. That is my word, vital cog.
I was about to say you're running that up tonight, my man, and I love it.
Not only defensively, we know how he's probably behind Draymond Green, one of the best on the team, but offensively as well. Any night he can blow up the scoreboard. So I don't even think they're a chance without Andrew Wiggins. So you
see, I think they are, and partly just a couple of weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have thought this, but the last couple of weeks. The output of Jonathan Kuminga has been fantastic.
It's been impressive.
And that's kind of almost that little diamond in the rough. They were looking at, they've got Moody, Kuminga, these young players that needed one to step up and kind of assert themselves into the playoff rotation. And I think he's done that. Again, granted, he's not in the level of an Andrew Wiggins, but he might be just able to fill that role well enough. I think it's a real flip of the coin. If Wiggins were in the fold, I think they would almost be hard to bet against.
That'd be a sleeper, as ridiculous as that sounds. They probably haven't been given the attention. But if they had him inserted back into that lineup, you could not write them off at any cost.
Very good. Lee, I might go next.
Go ahead.
I've got the Grizzlies.
Yes. Now, been much spoken about.
On my wish list, they would be wishing for a team player in Dillion Brooks.
A team player in Dillion Brooks, yes.
You're never getting that.
On a level with you. This guy is undoubtedly the most hated guy in the league. He's a real prick. There's no if, buts, or maybes about. No, just forever.
No, not forever.
He's
for eternity.
He's a dog. He's a real piece of work. But he can still be a very valuable contributor for this team.
Yes.
Depending on a few key factors. Now, he doesn't try and make himself bigger than the game. Often we see him get into fights. We see him kind of almost take pride in that, detracting from the game, detracting from momentum, making himself kind of, the butt of it all.
Huge ego.
A huge ego in that regard. And it really does ruin momentum. I've watched quite a lot of games where he's, gotten fouled out or he's tried to turn it into a 1v1 battle.
Yes.
And that when you've got players like Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, you simply cannot have this guy going 1v1. He is not that good.
You're not that guy.
He's not that guy.
No.
He needs to really look to find his shots within the flow of the offense. He's averaging 14 points a game this season on 14 field goal attempts. Now, that's just not going to cut it. I've seen multiple games where he's tossed up 20-plus shots a game. That just simply cannot happen.
Unacceptable.
He's shooting at 39% from the field, 32.5% from three, and 79% from the line this season. It's just not good enough. And based on the volume of shots he's taking, the correlation there, it's not a great sign. So, I think he needs to make sure he's putting up high quality looks. He has a tendency to really, as I said, if he is feeling himself, he'll take three shots in the first couple of minutes. If one goes down, even just one,
that's enough of a heat check for him.
It's open season.
Yeah.
And you just cannot get the ball out of his hands. So, he's got to understand he's probably the fourth option when they've got a healthy starting five. You've got Morant, you've got Jaren Jackson Jr., you've got Desmond Bane. He's probably that fourth guy. Steven Adams, if he's healthy, playing probably the five, or Xavier Tillman. As playoff D intensifies, you're not going to get as many looks. There's just not as many shots in a game. So you really need to work out where those shots are going to the right people at the right times. So I really hope for the Grizzlies. I think if they're to be a chance, they're going to have to get the best out of Dillion Brooks.
So
he's the key cog, I think.
I think this is a case of just do what you're good at. This guy's
Stick in your lane, hey.
This guy's a brilliant defender. This guy can defend. Did you see that clip of him defending Curry?
Yeah,
He's
on
got a
him.
block on him. He's a great
on
defender.
honey.
Come playoffs time, focus on your defense. On the offensive side of things, I think the coaching staff and Jenkins have to be a bit more stern with him because he cannot be putting up 20 shots a game. You say, okay, if you miss this many or if you take this absurd amount of shots, you're getting subbed out.
I'm going to put a little guess on it. In their playoff series, if he takes any more than, I'm going to say 15 shots in a game,
even that,
the Grizzlies lose.
Yeah.
Any game he takes 15 or more, I'm going to say they lose.
I
There's
think
my
you're
prediction.
right.
That could be a fun prediction in a week or two time.
You keep tabs on that.
I'll keep
Do
tabs
the
on
over
that.
under.
Yeah,
What do you think the likelihood of that is, Nick, of him becoming that team player that they need, becoming the guy who knows his limit? Because as I agree with you in terms of that could be the difference. That could certainly be the difference. But I also think that a guy like Dillion Brooks, from what we know about him, when the lights are bright, that probably his ego grows to an unknown level, like when that happens. And I think he'll probably put up even more shots, which could be certainly to their detriment by the sounds of it.
Just looking at him, and I don't want to stereotype or do anything here, but
you're about to.
Yeah, I'm going to anyway.
Yes,
Does he kind of look like the guy who just and the way he comes out and plays in the locker room just before game time? He's got that white line fever energy. Just be doing a couple of lines of whiz fizz in the back just to get himself G'd up.
I honestly don't think he needs it to be. I think he's just that guy.
But he just looks like he's coming out ready.
He looks buzzed, doesn't he?
He does look buzzed.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you mean.
Did you see Kyrie not take his jersey?
Yeah, I loved that. I love that.
And then
I'm all for that.
Did we see Draymond's subsequent reaction to that?
Yeah,
he loved that.
It's
I was waiting for Draymond's reaction.
But again, granted, on the opposite side, teams, because of their hatred towards him, if they try and target him, he is a good defender, as you said, Lee. It could almost work in the opposite side as a real positive.
Yeah.
As teams just try and make a beeline and really punish him, he is a good enough defender to stack up with them. And then with the the secondary support then from Jaren Jackson Jr., Tillman, Adams if he comes back. Not sure of his status. It's going to be an interesting series to whoever the Grizzlies play. I'm looking forward to it. But
just quickly, what is your ceiling on the Grizzlies this year come the playoffs?
So currently they reside second. It looks, the Kings have had a couple of losses there. As it stands at the moment, if everything were to work out, they would be playing the Wolves.
Yep.
I'd 100% back them in that.
Me too. Yep.
After that, I think the second round is probably their ceiling. I don't think whichever teams make the second round, I think they're probably all going to be better than the Grizzlies. I would have more faith in them. So that's where I see them ending up there.
And they probably had a more stable season last year. Yeah. And they had a really good regular season, but they couldn't quite get past that second round, wasn't it? Yeah.
There you go. Lee, third cab, off the rank. What have you got for us?
Okay, there is a glaringly obvious flaw with the Sacramento Kings. Can somebody say it for me?
The big D.
Yep,
the defense. We've only said this for however many seasons now, and nothing's changed.
And it's so glaring that I had the exact same one.
I had it as well, and I thought,
you have it?
Well, no, I didn't. I changed. I thought, I feel like we could all have this.
We would have.
But yeah, the Kings, absolutely. Yes. Let's touch on the Kings for a while.
They rank 27th in opponent points allowed per game. How is someone that is third in the West ranked 27th?
In fairness, I looked at that and I thought they were going to be probably 29th or 30th. Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, that's actually not bad. Right. How disgusting is that for a team that's third?
Yeah. And how is it possible?
How's it possible? Exactly.
It doesn't matter how good you are offensively. If you're playing defense on the same level as someone like the Pistons or the Spurs, unfortunately, in my opinion, you're not making a deep playoff run.
What's the is it top 5 or top 10? I think every championship team in the last however many years, I'm using this very wishy-washy, has been the top 10 in both categories.
And I think I looked at the same thing and I think I found the same thing.
You know what I'm talking about. But if for a team to be 27, it's not as if they're on the periphery of 12, 13, 14. They're pretty much
down
rock
the
bottom.
Yeah, right down the dweller.
Which I think, based on historical evidence, suggests that they are not going to win the title.
No.
A lot of the points that they give up come from in the paint. They give up 54 points in the paint per game on average. That it's very, very poor interior defense. Like Sabonis, as good as he is offensively, he's not the greatest defender.
He's more a power forward, isn't he? Like, if you've got him playing center, he is a small ball center, mixing it up with some very big guys in Jokic and Ayton.
Monsters.
It's not a good matchup.
No,
and like playing that small ball, they're able to attack up and down the floor
Yeah.
rapidly, which is awesome. But on the opposite end, as you said, like, you're going to give up a lot of points.
Their backup center is Metu, so it's like
what's
like-
his first? Chip? It's got a funny first name.
Chorizo or something.
Yeah, Metu. Yeah.
Some
in
guys
the,
are
in the
so.
Metuverse.
Well, yeah, good one off the fly. Don't mind it.
I just don't know why in the before the trade deadline they didn't pick up one of these formidable defensive
You know who they
centers.
could have brought back?
Who?
And I say this because I want to see him back in the league, and I think he could do a job, and it would have
don't
been
tell
fun
me.
to say, guess, you know who?
Big Bull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
Bull.
DeMarcus Cousins. How fun would that have
I
been?
know, that would have been incredible.
He loves to score points, but he could also play D as well.
Yes.
But you saw a couple of these guys that did get traded. I'm talking Mo Bamba, Mason Plumlee. Like Matisse Thybulle isn't a big, but he would have helped their defensive
Plumlee would
woes.
have been a really, really good
Handy.
pickup.
Yeah.
Really good pickup, I think.
I
Even
think so.
Andre Drummond, they could have gone out and got, but they didn't. The question then comes, can they change if they don't acquire a formidable big man defensive center or just player in general before the playoffs? And here is I'm not going to say solution, but here's my recommendation.
Go on.
You need to sacrifice some of your offensive output for some defensive output. And what I mean by that is you've got to try different lineups. Okay. So their worst defensive rating comes when Fox, Herter, Malik Monk, Barnes, and Sabonis is on the floor.
That is such a horrible defensive lineup. That is disgusting.
It is. The only guy on that lineup which I'd give any defensive credit to is Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
The rest of them,
leaky.
118 defensive rating when they're on the floor. But listen to this. When Keegan Murray or Davion Mitchell or both are on the court at once, their defensive rating comes back down to 108
Murray
to 110.
Has he been
He's
playing?
Yeah.
I feel like he's been really quiet the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's been swept under the carpet a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
So recommendation, trial some lineup. You don't have long, but trial some different lineups before the playoffs. Even then, they're probably still hoping to come up against another pretty poor defensive team, so they can't exploit, their saving grace being their offense.
Good timing because they're 2 games currently back of the Grizzlies. I probably don't think they get there. Just after the last couple of games, they've probably just fallen off. Third, they'll certainly take. They're 5 games up on Phoenix, so they're pretty well locked into third just about at a worst.
Yeah.
So as you said, Lee, this is a perfect opportunity to really play with some things. See what they can make. Mike Brown just tests the waters. See what sticks, what doesn't. But I agree, like we just spoke about the Grizzlies and how playoff defense is tightened. I don't think it's going to hit any team as hard as the Kings.
No, I think you're spot on. And it's a really tricky situation actually for them to be a part of because, yes, they look at their season thus far, particularly after the last 15 years of being awful. I wasn't going to say it, Nick.
I was waiting, my ears just perked up for a second.
And you come out of this season and you go, look, we've had such an incredible season, all things considered. But if we play at this standard of defense come the playoffs, we're going to potentially be a first round exit and it could all be for nothing. So it's a tricky situation in the fact that they have to find a defensive identity within the last few weeks in preparation for the playoffs, or else I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they were out in the first round, and it would be really disappointing. I agree with everything that you two were saying in terms of experiment with the lineups. You guys will think I'm taking the piss, but like get a guy like Delly in there, like for his defensive.
I agree.
Aspect of his game, as you were saying before, Davion Mitchell.
Show them the difference it makes on the court when you've got a guy who's willing to lay his ass on the line and really hangs his hat in that area.
100%.
Like, that'll permeate through the squad.
It does. It sets the standard as to, and I think someone like Delly as well will come to the playoffs and in preparation for the playoffs, rather, will say to these guys, look, I've been here before. I know what it takes in terms of, I know what the standard is. these other Kings should be opening their ears and paying attention because they haven't been there in so long. So they should take the advice from someone who has.
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to be massively important. Whether it's possible to turn their whole defensive side of their game around in such a short amount of time,
Big ask.
different question, but that's what it's going to take for them to progress past the first round, in my opinion.
Let me tell you something that will no doubtedly surprise you both. It surprised the heck out of me. Their best offensive rating comes when De'Aaron Fox isn't even on the floor. It comes when their two best defensive players are on the floor, Davion Mitchell and Keegan Murray.
Isn't that interesting?
123 defensive rating. Isn't that odd?
It is.
Yeah.
It is odd.
123 offensive, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's isn't that ridiculous? It's funny. I keep so I use a site it's called RotorWire.
Yes. Yeah.
And it has all your
Familiar.
your lineups, and it's good just to say who's in, who's out. And at the bottom of the lineups, it always has the over under.
Yep.
And I love looking at what it has for the Kings. And so often now I'm seeing higher 230s, 239 into 240s. And I'm like, as soon as it gets above 240, you've got to almost back the under in every time, I think.
Yeah.
But continually, I look at their scores and it's 250, 260, and it's like, is this a joke? And not just the Kings, a lot of teams now, but the Kings in particular, some of these scores this season, it's just absurd. It really, really is.
Yeah, they know how to fill. They know how to put the ball in the bucket.
Like if you're a lover of pure basketball and defense, this season ain't for you.
Yes,
no, you just don't worry about the regular season. Pack her up and gear up for the playoffs. I reckon. So.
Yep. Early predictions: Kings first round. What are we saying?
I'm going to say.
So who would they be coming up against at the moment in that first round as it stands?
As things stand, they'd be facing the Warriors.
That's a team that you do. If I was the Kings, I'd want to go up against the Warriors.
I think so too, just because they're a run and gun, shoot the three ball team as well. Like both teams are going to live by the three, die by the three, I think. Yeah. And it probably works best for them.
You know what? I would say, given the Warriors' road record, and given the Kings would get home court advantage, I'd back the Kings. Actually,
didn't you see they're now being called the Road Warriors? 2 road victories in a row here.
Yeah, they're starting to make a
stunning. They're now 9-29 on the road. How good is that?
Might be unpopular opinion, but I would have Golden State every day of the week in that series, regardless of their
championship
record.
pedigree.
I think so. Yeah,
Who
fantastic.
would you have?
Oh, no, this is tough. Yeah, no, I think I've got to go by a bigger sample size and agree with Ro. As fun as it would be to probably cheer for the Kings, and
I'd be backing the Kings.
That'd be fun games.
I'd love it. Love them to win.
That'd be such fun games. But I think I've just got to. Steph Curry is going to be the best player on the court. Yeah, and I hold a lot of weight to that.
Yes,
100%.
Very good. Let's push ahead. Lee, with your that was your second one as well.
That was my second as well.
I'll go with my second.
Yes, please do.
So I've got the Miami Heat.
Okay.
Now they're in a funny spot because they've been making a bit of a surge lately. They're hanging on the periphery. Forgive me. Let me just check. They might have even today with today's results climbed in. They have indeed with the Brooklyn losing. They've climbed into the 6th spot. Currently in a playoff position.
Handy.
For me, I think on their wish list would be for their shooters to turn up.
Yeah.
Now, from deep in particular.
Yep.
That's going to be the only way that I think they'll be a genuine threat and be a tough out. Last season, the Heat shot the 3-ball at 38%, one of the best in the league. This season, they've been going at 34%.
Okay.
Now, they certainly have the players capable of ripping a game wide open, looking namely at Tyler Hero, Max Strus, Caleb Martin as probably their 3 premier 3-point shooters. But then you've got that accompanied by Lowry, Love. Butler has been knocking down the 3-ball a little bit more as of late. Oladipo, and even Duncan Robinson, who's seen spot minutes this year, but we know he's a flamethrower when he catches fire. If they can get this to click, they're going to be a tough out, I think. They're not a team you'd want to face, especially when you've got a guy who's all heart, all grit and grind like Jimmy Butler, who's going to, with every fiber of his being, claw this team as far as it can go. They're going to be tough. I really think, though, the barometer for them is Tyler Hero. He shoots 8 attempts from 3 a game, converting at 37.5% this season. If he can get 1 or 2 to go down early, again, we said about Dillion Brooks, who gets the green light then. Hero's the same. If he gets 1 or 2 early, he catches fire. That is going to be the difference between them winning and losing, I think. And as I said, for them to be a threat, the three ball's got to go down. Defensively, they've got the players there. Jimmy, Bam, Lowry's a pig, Kevin Love. There's enough there. It's just about making shots, I think, for them. And, you know, as I said, I wouldn't want to face them.
I'm with you, and I think they're a scary team in the fact that they have guys on the roster at the minute who have been at the very pointy end of the year, and I think it always goes overlooked for one reason or another. Even if like they probably haven't had the greatest regular season, if they come into the playoffs and you've got the guys like Jimmy, you've got the guys like Lowry, Love, these guys
know what it's about.
It has a massive impact. But then also you look at the year where the Heat made it to the finals and their shooters were clicking. And we look at like guys like Duncan Robinson, who seems like a completely different player in every aspect now. But there's other guys, doesn't have to be Duncan, even though that would be handy, who need to step up if they're going to have a chance come these playoffs. And I'm with you, Nick. They're sort of, to a certain extent, they're like the Warriors in the fact that I don't want to write them off regardless of where they finish in the playoffs. Even if they finish where they are at the minute, I still think they're a very good chance at progressing.
This might be a hot take, and I'd probably go.
You know what happened last time we did a hot take with Herb Jones, don't we?
Here we go. What have you got?
I would arguably give Gabe Vincent more minutes come playoffs time than Kyle Lowry. Like, I'm all for you putting Kyle Lowry on in the fourth because he has been there before and he can kind of, you know, be that floor general in the fourth. He has a high IQ. But first, second, and third, I'd put Gabe Vincent out there for the reasons that, you know, he brought this forward. Yeah, exactly, to hit shots.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Heat can do. Lads, I tell you what, the light is quickly diminishing here in the studio. We're plotting. We're going to put the clocks back in a couple of weeks' time. So the nights are certainly drawing in quickly here, aren't they?
The one week we don't use our old friend, the ring light, and this happens, and we're about to be sitting in pitch black in a few minutes.
Lee, what have you got for us, buddy?
I've got something from the Phoenix Suns. Excellent. So when KD comes back, from an opposition's point of view, all eyes are going to be on him and D-Book. That's no questions. Double teams, triple teams, left, right, and center on these two. It's going to inevitably give a lot more room for Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. And I don't
the third one.
No third one.
What?
Who? You want to say Kogi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
your boy.
But it's going to be Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton that's open. And I don't want to simplify it and break it down to these guys need to make shots, but that is essentially what they need to do. I think these guys, when they get these open looks, they need to jump on that opportunity.
Chris Paul, the mid-range master.
Yeah.
Money.
We've been saying defense tightens, you know, pressure rises. It's vital that they hit these open shots because it, you know, in playoffs, it comes down to one possession games, and that one shot missed could be, you know, the end of it.
The difference.
And from CP3's perspective, I don't think you'll find many times more apparent than this season where he will find as much space as he will just due to the caliber of players on his team in terms of the shooting caliber in particular. He's played with good players in his time, but nothing to this degree of shooting and offensive firepower. So he will get some really good looks. And as Lee was saying, it's going to be massive for him to knock them down. And I have full faith that he can do that.
Strong top. They're a top heavy roster, but God, it's a strong starting five, that, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
That's going to give a lot of teams trouble. But even backed up then with, you know, TJ Warren and a couple of these other blokes, you know, Big Jock Landale.
We love Jock.
Seen Jock in the playoffs.
He's in a lawsuit with Sam Newman's son.
Yes, I did see that. He
that's a random headline.
Assaulted old Sammy Newman. Australians would know Sam Newman.
Yeah.
Sam Newman's son at college or school.
10 years ago.
So he's bringing it up again now that he's earned the bag.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's incredible.
Typical Newman situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. But I agree, Lee. I'm excited to see what the Suns can do. They're a real kind of box of chocolates at the moment.
They are.
Depending on health. And they are. They are probably, again, granted KD's out, so probably not getting the respect they deserve. But when he's back, they are going to be a very, very, very strong contender for the title.
I do want to say it's crazy how much I
There we go.
Might need
Get the
the-
phone lights out. We are pitch black here just
Oh.
about, aren't we?
I know KD's only played 3 games for them, but how much they drop off when they don't have him, they don't have him out there. I think they've lost maybe their last 3 or the 3 of their
they've
last
lost a couple on the
games.
trot now. So
It's like you're not that bad of a team without KD. Why is this happening?
yeah, they've lost 2 on the bounce, should I say? 5-5 in their last 10. So that kind of speaks to where they've been without KD at the moment. But
God, it is.
We look like a Blair Witch project.
It
It's
does,
we're about
doesn't
to have
it?
a night vision camera.
yeah, actually, in your glasses in particular, Ro, like it kind of does look quite eerie.
It does.
We'll definitely have the ring light out next week.
I think so.
Gotta.
Fellas, I'll tell you what, the wish lists are in. There's a lot going on at the moment. East and West Conference, still so much to play out. I'm absolutely loving it. There is not, and especially in the coming week or two, there's not going to be a second to breathe.
No.
Every game is pivotal at the moment, which I love. As we said, it is so often there is a lot of garbage time at this end of the year, and that's around this time where people say, right, cut it from 82 to 70, get rid of, 10 to 12 games or whatever it is. But this year, every game matters. So
absolutely.
all for it. All for it, guys.
Oh, it's exciting end to the year.
Exciting.
This is what we
Playoff
want.
basketball.
Yeah.
This is what we live for. And in fairness, as for ourselves, it's kind of nice once the game's shortened down a little bit.
Yes,
Once you've got a day or two to digest everything.
No doubt.
With 6 to 12 games going on every single day, there's a lot of content to digest here. Getting pretty full bellies by this time of year.
Yeah.
Guys, from the team here, from Lee, Rowan, myself, we hope you all have a fantastic week. We will be back next week to break down everything, all the news from around the league. We hope you enjoy all the games. We'll be sitting here next week. Certainly hope as a Lakers fan we're pretty much penciled in a spot, but guys, anything can happen. So I certainly hope you enjoy the roller coaster that's set to be the last 10 regular season games. Till then, though, have a fantastic week, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. Bye.